back. Now let's start talking about variable length subnetting. Now after discussing these n number of numericals we have, I hope you have fairly understood this thing, that how to do this fixed length subnetting. There is no problem with that. Now let's start talking about this variable length subnetting and how it is implemented, how it is done. Fairly easy. The task is fairly easy. Okay, I'll show you once again. See, it has some key points that you guys need to read it out. The very first thing is all subnets do not have same size. Okay, all subnets do not have equal number of hosts. All subnets do not have same subnet mask, because everything is going to vary over here. Okay, what do we understand by variable length subnetting is that the subnets size can vary. Earlier in the previous case wherein we were talking about fixed length subnetting, we were able to notice that we were either going to create 128 hosts per subnet or 64 hosts per subnet, and it was equal throughout the subnets. Okay, so we were not changing anything over there. But in variable length subnetting we can change everything. It is nothing but classless subnetting basically. Okay, how it is done I'll show you. Okay, how it is done I'll completely show you. Alright, let's take the similar example, the very first example that we took for one of the IP addresses, which was nothing but 192.193.194.195. okay, so this was the question. Okay, so let's say the number of subnets that I want to have, is let's say 3. okay, 3, in which first subnet is going to have 64, second subnet is going to have 64, third subnet is going to have 128 hosts. Cool. Now the number of hosts are varying over here, as simple as that. Okay, now let's say how it is done, how it can be done. Okay, earlier if you remember the diagram, we had one subnet like this, or sorry, network like this, and we were splitting that network into two equal parts. First one was subnet number 1 and second was subnet number 2. Okay, now this one wants me to divide in such a way that first two are 64 and second one is 128. Okay, so can I say that this one is already 128? This one was already having 120 hosts. Okay, so there is nothing that is going to change over here. But for this one, the subnet 1, okay, how I am going to divide that one, I am going to see it. Okay, I'll draw the diagram of subnet 1. I'll try to mimic it as easy as possible. Okay, yeah, subnet 1. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this subnet 1, it was earlier of 128 hosts, right? If we split this one into two equal parts, it will be 64. Can I do something like this? So this one will be, let's say, subnet number 1 for 64 hosts, and this one will be subnet number 2 for how many hosts? 64 hosts, and the remaining is what? It is still 128 hosts in subnet number 3. As simple as that. How to do it? Very easy. Okay, very easy. Let me just use the bold pen. Yeah. Okay, so the IP address is 192.193.194.195. Cool. Okay, this was the IP address. Okay, how to solve it? How to solve this thing? What I'll do is three paths are there. Okay, so first for this IP address, find the network address. We had already calculated the network address, so I'm not going to repeat that whole thing once again. So I'll just write it like this. So network address was what? 192.193.194.0. okay, all right. So what I'm going to do is, see, on the basis of this host bit we were splitting. Okay, so second part will be as it is, in which it will be looking like this: 192.193.194. Next bit would be 1, and now you can have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Starting address will be calculated on the basis of all zeros, because it is the initial one. Final one will be the maximum value, so all ones, and your job is done. Range will be 192.193.194.128 to 192.193.194.255. Number of hosts 128. Already done two things. So I'll make a bullet point over here. Number of usable or valid hosts. So it would be 126, because the first one is for network address and the last one is for broadcast address. So what is the subnet ID for this one, or network address for subnet 1? It is 192.193.194.0, correct? Broadcast address or direct broadcast address, broadcast address, and it would be 192.193.194.255. You guys are not paying attention. This one will be 128 for subnet ID. Okay, apologies from my end. Okay, going to the other side, the subnet 3 is already done, so I'll give the heading as subnet 3. I have created for how many hosts? 128 hosts. Now on the other hand, I am left with 128 hosts, right? I am left with 128 hosts, and eventually I am left with something like this: 192.193.194, and first bit is 0. I am going to change the rest: 1 3 1 2 3 4. Okay, but with the help of this structure I am going to get only 128 hosts. How to split it further into 64 and 64? Okay, how to split it further into 64 and 64? Just note this thing down. Okay, create two sides of this one is also. The way you were splitting the first part, the way you were splitting the network into two equal parts, similarly you are going to split this network into two equal parts. How? Let me show you. 192.193.194. It started with 0. Other one is also going to start with 0. 192.193.194. It started with 0. Now you want to split them into two equal parts, that is 64 and 64. So what I'll do 0 0 for the first bit, and I was left with 1 2 3 1 2 3. Also here 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. This second bit I am going to change it to 1. Got it? The second bit for the first part on the LHS I have changed it to 0, and the second bit I have changed it to 1. Okay, now this is also fixed. Like the first MSB bit, the second MSB bit has also been fixed. Okay, now you can do them, the leftover 6 bits you can make changes in them as per the requirement. So it will be 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 and 1. Done. 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 and 0 1. Okay, now write the range. Alright, write the range: 192.193.194 dot 0 to 192 193 194 dot 63. You can calculate. This one will be 0, this one will be 63, this one will be 64, this one will be 127. So over here range will be 192 193 194.64 to 192 193 194.127. After range, you are going to talk about number of hosts. Number of hosts will be 64. Over here, number of hosts are 64. Next one, number of usable or valid hosts are 62 because 2 are subtracted. Number of usable / valid hosts are 62 each. Okay. Because in every subnet you are going to have a subnet ID and broadcast ID. That's why we are subtracting 2 every single time. Okay. So I'll write what is my subnet ID for this one. The very first address, which is 192.193.194.0. Over here subnet ID will be the very first ID for this or very first address for this subnet, which will be 192.193.194.64. Next one or the last one, broadcast address, the last address for this subnet, which will be 192.193.194.63. Again broadcast address here, broadcast address which will be 192.193.194.127. as simple as that. The question has been solved, the example has been solved for all the possibilities of the solutions, all the parameters on which you can be asked for a particular question. Okay, done. All right, thank you.